The question for today is, would the Sonata pass tech inspection at a track day event? I'm gonna guess no. So what we're gonna do is go through this car and figure out all that it needs in order to pass one of those. I've had my eye on Chin track days for a long time because they offer kind of the green beginner level track days, and of course I need that to kind of gain some experience, and this is their tech sheet. It's fairly straightforward. We're going to be able to go through that. For all the years that I've owned this car, the whole point was to, you know, make it a really fun track day car, and in all the years it's only ever been to one. So you can see that it's got potential. We already have a 6-point harness in the car that's actually still good and FIA certified until 2024, I believe. I forget what it is exactly. The seat definitely says it. It says 2025. So we still have another full year. And, or actually, I guess it would be, it says not valid after. So we have all of 2024 and 25 until this is valid. So that's basically 2 full years at this point, which is awesome. So then there's just some other things that need to be taken care of, like the airbag needs to come out of this. So essentially where we're at is we have a really good starting place, but I want to go through the car in more detail and figure out what do we need to change, replace, upgrade, fix in order to get this thing to a track day. As of right now, I have the goal to get this car down to the Cars and Coffee at Cletus McFarland's Freedom Factory in April. And that's actually on my birthday. So I thought that would be a super awesome goal, and a great way to spend my birthday would be to get this car down there. And of course, you're not really gonna be doing any like serious driving except, you know, just on his property for a minute. But I thought it would be a really great way to hopefully just see a bunch of cool cars and get the Sonata out there. But of course, that's only half the goal. My primary goal is to get this thing to a real track day. You might have seen my short video a couple of weeks ago where I went to an open track day at Circuit of the Americas, the F1 circuit in Austin. And that would be just a dream come true to drive on the F1 circuit. This car, I don't know if it handled too well on that long back straight, but it would be such a blast nonetheless. I think because I'm not very experienced driving on the track, even though I'm confident in my abilities, it would be a great way to start with an underpowered car and then kind of graduate up from there. So let's go ahead and get this thing in the driveway so we can get it up in the air and take a look. But before we do that, there's a little bit of a problem. The problem isn't this new bit of chunky cracked clear coat, but that is a new problem. That wasn't there, I don't recall. But the actual problem is that, if you remember from the end of the Toyota Celsior restoration video from a couple of weeks ago, I had to rob the battery out of here. So this battery actually had to go in the Celsior recently because I took it for a test drive after redoing the entire front and rear suspension, and halfway down my road it died. It turned out the alternator had gone bad, and so I swapped in the LS431. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. But now I need to lug this big battery here in the garage all the way back out to the Sonata so we can get it right here and do a little inspecty-specty. It should be a crime that all batteries don't come with the handle on the side for you. Ow, pinched my finger. There we go. It's never elegant getting the battery in this car. Now time to flip the little breaker switch here. The car should just fire right up. It generally sputters on the first start. It still doesn't really like cold starts all that much, but it should be fine. Although I do need to go get some fuel for this thing, for sure. Let's see here. Yeah, see. First start is good, but then after that, I mean, the first start is typically not good, but then after that, it'll run fine. One more. Runs smooth as butter. So again, the question is, how far off passing tech are we in this car? So let's go ahead and pop the hood and we'll take a look at a couple of things. So of course, in the video on my channel where I first reintroduced this car, I went ahead and replaced the main kind of fuel lines because those were really cracked. And then this pressure regulator hose right there. But other than that, in terms of things that would probably fail us at tech, almost certainly the valve cover, there being 2 bolts broken in that. So we would need to spend some time to try to get those out, get the valve cover off. It wouldn't hurt to go ahead and do a new valve cover gasket anyway, because it looks like we got some pretty decent oil seepage kind of all the way around. Looks like this seal may be completely gone. And then the other thing is that this car did have a tendency to overheat at the last track day. So luckily our thermostat and all of that is going to be extremely easy to get to, especially once we get the valve cover off. It'll just be so insanely easy to, I'm jinxing myself by saying that actually. I'm gonna shut up. It should be relatively straightforward to get that off. Then some of the other things I think that the track days are gonna be pretty upset about is some of these dangly wires, like our little, you know, manual boost controller here, just kind of chilling. This would be easy because we can just get some fresh rubber silicone vacuum line like that and maybe route it somewhere that it actually has a home. Then another big thing is we have this leak here, and I don't exactly know what it's from. It looks like there's probably more to do with a power steering leak here. It might just be coming out of this hose. It looks like that's where it's seeping out of and just getting the power steering pump all dirty. But I mean, this car doesn't actively drip anything. So looking at our tech sheet here, the main thing is going to be this braking system. So fluid is clear, reservoir is full. I don't know that this car has ever had a brake fluid flush, so that will definitely be something that we need to go ahead and do. Pedal is firm will be a side effect of that. Pads are less than half worn, don't know. We can take a look. Brake lights are working. That actually is working. Master cylinder, no leaking fluid. It doesn't appear to be leaking. It looks pretty clean, you know, relatively speaking. Then the next one says calipers not leaking. I don't think they are, but we can double check that. And then rotors show no signs of cracks or unusual wear. I suspect that they probably do. This car hasn't been driven, you know, really regularly in a long time. And the brake pads and rotors, I could not tell you when the last time they were replaced was. Maybe 10 years ago, so they're well overdue. These other components we'll look at in just a little bit, but let's go ahead and get the car lifted up so we can have a better look. Okay, I went ahead and started the classic cardboard repair list, and probably need to add some tires on there. So that was a little bit of fun we had with doing some burnouts one time, probably like 2 years ago on my back pad. That tire is pretty shredded. Sadly, this one looks to be in okay shape, and the other ones do too, but that's not gonna fly. The tech inspection, I think, specifically says tires less than 5 years old. I don't remember where it went exactly. Oh yeah, right there. Tires are no more than 4 years old, and I'm pretty sure the date code on these is like 2014. Let's see, where is it? Oh, well, I mean, look at the cracks and stuff on them anyway. That won't fly. I'm missing the date code. Whatever, it doesn't matter. They're like at least 9 or 10 years old. Well, there's a lot of something going on down here. Look at all that, like, oil and grime. That line right there appears to be, what is that going to? To the steering rack? Is that where that goes? It looks like it. So it looks like that, I assume, high pressure line is either leaked or it's just soaked in stuff. It's hard to tell. I think that's still a hard line, so it must just be the rubber coating. But either way, the oil pan is completely covered. This part of the trans over here is completely covered. The trans pan is dry, which is nice. A little rusty, but it's dry. It's hard to tell if the oil pan is leaking. I don't think it is. I think it's just covered in grime. And then some of these funny things that I forgot we did on this car so many years ago. Like, this oil drain has a hard 90 in it, but it works for some reason. It works. And then obviously you can see, you know, on the intake there of the turbo, on the inlet side of the turbo, there's some leaking, but it appears that that could just be coming from the power steering. Like, it wouldn't be on that part of the turbo, considering how long this car sat, because, like, it's just, it wouldn't accumulate there. But it does look like this oil drain feed has seen better days, so we'd probably need to go ahead and get some of that. You can kind of see the metal inside of it is showing. That won't be too bad, I don't think. Luckily, we can get to all of that right here. Definitely got to figure out where that leak is coming from. But down here, I'm not convinced there's actually anything we need to worry about. Seems like this is all possibly related to the power steering leak. Otherwise, everything else looks fine. I mean, there's a little bit of like kind of surface rust going on here on these K members, but otherwise it looks okay. Let's take a look at some of the suspension now. I've gotten hung up on studying what all of this stuff is, and you can see that this stuff is not really even oily. This is all just like kind of rubbery bits, and if you look down there, you can see all the bits of rubber from the tire and the burnout. So I'm really kind of thinking that there probably is just a little bit of a leak somewhere, but it's looking way worse than it actually is because of the fact that like there's those, you know, these rubber bits everywhere. Like that's a little bit oily for sure. That's not too bad. Probably is this like upper pan here, but I mean like that's not even really that bad. That's just like, unfortunately got all the goop. I've been wiping it on my list here to try to see if I could uncover it. It also doesn't have a smell. Doesn't smell like anything. So I've been kind of poking around here in the suspension, just taking a look, getting my bearings and kind of familiar with the suspension on this car. We basically slapped K-Sport coilovers on this in the past, and that was it. Literally didn't touch anything else. There's kind of this one control arm assembly that runs from that bolt there. One of the arms comes out to right back underneath the oil filter. It's a little difficult to see. There's the bolt right there. And then the other one runs to right there. And none of those bushings really look that bad. I'm gonna go ahead and get the car jacked up. I mean, this one looks like it's sagging. It's kind of off center and there's some cracking underneath there now that I look a little bit more closely. So this one perhaps needs to get swapped out. The Hyundai OEM control arm is actually only like 80 bucks. Which is kind of nice. I don't know how difficult that would be to swap out. I mean, I'm gonna jinx myself by saying this. It doesn't look terribly difficult. And then I don't know about the upper one, but really we need to go ahead and get the car up and kind of do our test on the tire. All right, so the classic wheel shape test. We're solid up and down. Well, now the steering's locked, but got a little bit of movement, but that's really to do with the steering being locked. When I hit the locks on the steering, there's no extra play here. So I really don't feel like there's that much concern on this side. Yep, no play there. I think in terms of suspension, we're probably good. So I've spent a while just trying to kind of clean up some of these bits here. And it's really interesting because that is what is coming off of, you know, like this upper pan and stuff. And then all of that stuff back there, those are the rubber tire bits that I cleaned out of the wheel well. And they look fairly similar. These look like, you know, just like oil and kind of dirt grime and then little bits of tire. So I'm not actually really sure that we have a leak that's that big of a deal, to be honest. And then again, just like looking more closely up here, it really feels like this power steering hose might be the culprit. Like it's just weeping slowly. And then, you know, over the course of like the last 2 years of this car sitting, it might have wept down there. The other thing it could be is that oil feed line here. That probably I could just replace pretty easily. That doesn't look bad. It's a pretty hard line. It's well overdue. Then the gasket there between the fitting and the turbo. The other thing that I noticed when I was looking at what else needs to be done is I squeezed this. Hopefully you can hear this. Oh, it's so crunchy. Oh, it's disgusting. So pretty much goes without saying that we're gonna need both radiator hoses. One of these is the thermostat, and then one just must be a neck of some kind, but I'm wondering if we can replace that. I would like these not to be ugly and gross. But the thermostat must be inside of this one. So then on our suspension and steering system, wheel bearings are tightened to specification. That's all good. Minimum play in steering linkage, I think that's good. Lugs are tightened. Yep, bushings and pivot points show no signs of deterioration. That's on the cusp. I mean, really, if we're going to do it right, we need to just go ahead and replace all the suspension bushings. So I'll see how much all of that is going to be. Wheels are not bent or cracked. Nope. Shocks not leaking. Tires, we'd have to fix that. Drivetrain, engine supports, those honestly look good. Belts are snug. Throttle cable is good. Throttle return spring's good. Hoses are clean. No, we need to fix that. Coolant system is full. It will be after those new fluids. Battery secured appropriately. Not good. All wiring harnessed properly. All wiring is properly harnessed. Not good either. I'll show you that in just a second. Actually, let's go look at that now. So I know just from looking at this in the past that the way that battery cable runs, you saw it earlier when I put the battery back in, it just kind of snakes through here. There's a little like rudimentary joint that's basically soldered right there underneath that electrical tape. Then there's another one around on the driver's side, which is where that kill switch lives. And it's good that we have the kill switch in driver's reach, but that's obviously not going to fly. So what I want to do is go ahead and get one continuous cable all the way from the battery, and then I think I want to try to find a kill switch that I can mount up here somewhere so that I can reach that from the cockpit. Or, you know, I mean, we don't have AC in this car, so it could go like really anywhere there was a home for it. The other thing is that for more serious track days, the hole in the firewall is a no-go, which is a bummer. I mean, I don't know how else you run the battery cable except underneath the car without drilling through the firewall. Well, so I should say, it's a no-go like this. It needs to be a proper hole, and then it also needs a grommet that everything runs through. So that's a relatively easy fix, although fixing that is going to be kind of difficult because you can see it's basically just like 3 or 4 attempts at a drill bit to make it big enough. Fairly janky. And then the other end of that battery cable is also very jank because it's inside of this, and that like kind of connects to the main system here. So we need to undo that and kind of properly get these together with like a bolt, you know, some kind of like, I don't even know what you call it, like eyelet essentially. Looking at the engine mounts again, like I said, those just look fine. They look fine down there. So let's go back to the actual list. I wanted to just show you the battery thing. All wiring, that would need to be fixed. There's not really anything crazy. We can go back to the driver's side real quick over here. The only one that I think maybe they would be upset about is this harness down here. So it's not like really secure. From here on back, it's secure. Goes under some panels and stuff, but down here we need to find a way to like clip that in. Maybe I could like get some rib nuts and some eyelets, or I don't know, something like that. Battery secured appropriately is on the cusp. I mean, there is a battery box back there like you saw. We probably need a better cage and a strap. I don't know if the strap's actually still back there. Transmission does not leak and it does shift, but it needs a flush for sure. I think I already put that on here. Trans drain fill, yep. Okay, and then CV boots all in good places. Yeah, there's actually no cracks or leaking there, which is great. Exhaust system is functioning properly. On this car, it is functioning and very loud. In the driver safety section, we don't have original belts, so a 5 or 6 point harness system is employed. Optional fire extinguisher is mounted. It does say optional. It would be probably wise to get one, especially for this car. So maybe we can look into that. Optional roll bar. We have basically like, I forget what they call this thing, a harness bar, I'm pretty sure. And that's how the actual, you know, Sparco belts that you saw are secured up there. So that's nice. And then these final sections here, windshield, no large cracks. The wipers do function. All the mirrors function. Pedal covers, yeah. It seems like it would also be wise to go ahead and swap out that silicone hose right there. I don't know what the deal was. Can't recall why this was that way, but I mean, look at how cracked it is from sitting there all this time. Other than that, I mean, that one could probably do with a new one. Some of these hose clamps, just from like a visual perspective, would be nice. Like those are super rusted. And then that silicone hose could probably be swapped as well. But I mean, unless I'm forgetting something major, like this list isn't that bad. Valve cover gasket, getting those old broken bolts out might be a little tricky. Power steering hose, if that's actually the leak. Oh, I actually wrote power steering leak and power steering hose together. That's not too bad. Pads and rotors and brake flush, no big deal. Thermostat, new coolant, and then all the radiator hoses, no big deal. Trans drain and fill, no big deal. Oil change, new tires. That's going to be by far the most expensive part. And then battery cable and box, that could be a little tricky. Oh, and then mounting a new kill switch. I gotta put that. And then I also better go ahead and put the suspension bushings just to kind of see what the actual cost on that would be. Because if it's not that bad, then I would like to go ahead and do it just to have that extra confidence. So I mean, realistically, all this stuff together is probably gonna be like $800 or $1,000, kind of depending on the route I go with suspension and tires. Luckily, these tires aren't a crazy size, so I should be able to find something that are reasonably cost effective. Those are going to be the most expensive part, maybe other than the suspension components if we go that route. But overall, like, this car is in pretty good shape. It is, in my opinion, there's really nothing other than, you know, this list that's gonna hold it back from doing a track day. So like, it's pretty exciting to really evaluate this thing and figure out what it needs. So like I've said before, the ultimate goal for this car is to get it to a track day. All of this stuff is getting us one step closer. If you're not already subscribed, please do so. I really appreciate that. And all of you that are here to support the Sonata and the channel, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'll be working on this car over the coming weeks, so there'll be more videos. After this one is going to come another video on the Celsior and the Turbo BMW, so also check those out. I'll look forward to seeing you in another video, and again, thank you so much for watching.